Okay, so in the comments on my Instagram page, I post about videos and fun, weird things I'm doing in my eBay junk. Somebody said I should do a little tour of my bikes. I used to own a bike shop and had a zillion cool bikes over the years. And, I was a frame builder for a long time and owned a cool custom shop and modified a lot of old frames and made a bunch of custom frames and built them up all cool. So I just took one of my bikes out for a ride, and while it's out, I figured maybe I should just go ahead and do a little bike tour video, basically. So let's check out my cool Alumatrek 7000. This is basically a 2-for-1, because not only can we see the great Alumatrek 7000, you can also see my 1960 Ford F100 pickup, which I have a love-hate relationship with, just like bikes, so it works out great. So this was a bone stock Trek 7000 that I got at the Goodwill bins. It had been marked down a few times. I didn't buy it, and I thought about it. I went back a couple days later, and they marked it down to $85, and I could not buy it, even just for the group for $85. It was all stock, except for probably that horrible ass hatchet seat, which I really need to replace. It didn't have that fender or the lights on it. It had a stock flat bar on it in mint condition. I took off and sold to a collector in Japan. It's one of those cool True Temper black chromo bars. All I really did to it was went to the local junk bike shop and bought this $10 set of old steel cruiser bars that I'm actually pretty in love with. They're pretty wonderful. Probably Wald or Schwinn or something. And I found this big giant bike basket at the Goodwill bins, and I found this like doggy seat carrier thing at the Goodwill bins. So I put this giant basket on and put this little cool seat carrier on. I ride my dog in it all the time. It's got a little clippy so she won't fall out if she tries to jump or hits a big bump. I got a big like Velo orange bungee cargo net, which is perfect for this sort of thing. On my old channel, before I realized that I had the wrong email and made my new channel, I did a video about doing the brand new brake cables and setting up the bar and the basket. And I did a little video about setting up this more tucky secret light mount underneath the bar on the basket, which I like. It's an Originate light mount, but Paul makes one too. Just drill a hole in the rack stay and bolt it on. It's more subtle, so it won't get stolen by tweakers as often. It keeps the light from shining all over your stuff, so it keeps it on the road, which is nice. But that's about the only thing I did to this, other than clipping on that rear fender, and little minor lube and adjustment. It does have the, that early 90s Dior mix of LX parts. All in really good shape, really nice LX wheels. It's a real Hyperglide cassette wheel, sometimes they're Uniglide. But it does have like a later LX brake on it, so this must be like 92, 93. And it still has the DX shift levers on it. But it's 7 speeds of coolness. I cruise around on it. I think my bars need to sit out another inch or two. Got a little bit of hand pain. I just did like a 10-mile ride on it to the grocery store to load up just for fun, cruise around the neighborhood. Oh, I did put these tires on too. It had like rotten original tires on it, I think. This bike was in really good shape. I got these tires at a swap meet, I think, for 10 or 15 bucks. One of them brand new with the tag. The other one 99% brand new. So not a tire I would normally pick out for my bike, but it's a little more heavy duty and it has the reflective sidewall, and that's cool. If I spent brand new money on it, I probably would have bought Pan Racer Paselas in 26 by 1.75. I'm a big fan of the Paselas. I would not have gone Compass on this because those tires would have cost more than this entire bike, and sure they're great, but this is just my crappy around town bar bike. I don't want to have to care about it or worry about it or be paranoid every time I hit glass. And I got real nice Compass tires on my Norther, which I guess is the bike I'll do the next bike tour shot of. Ooh, terrible $10 saddle. Ooh, weird stock original long steel stem. But I mean, this paint job can't be beat. And I was told by a few people this might be one of the Treks that was handmade in Portland by a local frame builder company here in the 90s for a Trek. So that's also super, super cool. Oh, look at these cutty secret little rack mounts way down low for weird reasons. Matrix equipped. I think that's the rims. Hard anno. One thing I really need to do on this bike is new brake pads. They're original or really old, and this bike does not stop, and it hurts my hands trying to squeeze extra hard. And all I'm going to do by doing that is start cupping and denting the rims in, which I've done on many rims. So they look like they're worn out, but they're not. The metal's all there. They're just a little bit dented from me being heavy and having low brake pressure and having to squeeze way too hard. I did put these sweet blue silicone grips on that I got from Tomcat Bike at a swap meet a couple year ago, 3-4 swap meets ago. Get a whole bunch of these for cheaps. I bought a bunch. I love them. But yeah, the giant Scouts bike, Alumatrack. Pretty handy, pretty heavy, a little hard to ride. But it reminds me of being a kid when we went dumpster diving all the time. We had crappy old bikes and by kid I mean, you know, my teens and 20s. Crappy old bikes and giant front baskets on them and half broken and just riding around all the time doing cool stuff. Alumatrack. Thanks for checking it out. And this bike is my custom Northern Cycles Rando 650B, blah blah blah, all that cool stuff. Cool guy bike. It's what I made for myself at the shop. I had a blue 650B, which is the first one I ever made, that I made under my Star Michael name when I was still at Kenton Cycle Repair, and decided I needed something real cool. And once we sort of got some things dialed in, like our powder coat place and getting the cool logo airbrushed on before the clear powder coat went on, it was pretty cool. And I had these custom vintage, like 1930s Nervex lugs I got from an old retired frame builder on eBay. Some guy down in Argentina bought a bunch in like the 50s. Said they were all made in the 30s, I think. So I made these lugs, and I added on these points, and I chopped off a little bit of the flourish and left a little bit on to make it look more French. This is a Pacente rear lug that I cut off and put the Nervex, just this part on, and put it the angle I like. And brass brazed it and silver brazed the whole thing onto the bike. You know, hand carved with some flat like rack stay mounts, and pushed them over and brazed them and made this cool little point. Got this great off eBay, you know, vintage Columbus tube sticker, which is shiny and I thought was really cool. We put on a lot of our bikes because we mostly use Columbus tubes. We mostly use their Cromor stays and Cromor main tube triangles, which are basically the same tubes I have on the Schwinn up there, basically. But on this, I think I used the Columbus SL. They're super light 858 tubes because they're very stiff, and the Cromor stays. And then this is the, you know, the Rene Hurst super light 7.4 Kaise fork blades with our little custom fork blade raker. I think this is the one that Mark still has and uses. I had my own made that I liked the rake on even better, but I think I cracked it and stopped using it. And he had a really nice one made. I think his is like 4 and mine's like 5. This might be mine. It's pretty good looking. I think mine is a little more J-shaped at the bottom. It's pretty cool. Brazed some little stainless washers on for little stainless faces. Got the full Sun Deluxe dynamo hub. The wires coming out, did internal routing through the fork. Got some splits here in case I need to pop off the fender or do any work on it. And it pops up into a little mount on the underside of the down tube and goes under the down tube, around the bottom bracket shell, all the way up and into the Compass taillight mount. So that's pretty cool and wired up. Did a little curved brake bridge to kind of match the vintage, you know, 60s or 70s Mayfac Raids, and I stripped them down and high polished them, even though everything's so dirty right now, and put the Compass hardware kit in, all brass bushings and all that stuff. And the Rene Hurst cable hangers. And this is my favorite. This is the Surly rear cable hanger. Fits on most lugs. They're on the bolt. It's nice and free. It doesn't bind. It's got a barrel adjuster and it's stainless. You can just polish the logo right off. Looks very nice and classic and great for only $10. This is a cool rear reflector. A friend of mine's married to a woman from Japan, and they fly back to visit their family, and he always buys a bunch of cool bike parts and brings them back with him. Little plastic reflector. This is a rear mud flap. It's out of control because I hate spray and I don't want to do it to other people. And it's like an outdoor door step. So these cool little lines in it, and it's pretty flexy so it won't crack or break. Did the same thing on the front. really scoop it up, and you can see, I've talked about before, you can see how on 650B I dimple the stays enough so you can run the fender all the way down and stick down a few inches so you don't get any spray or dirt all over your chain rings and chain. It really keeps your drivetrain clean. It is just absolutely magic. Got my Easton Dura seat post. I got my Giles Berthoud leather saddle. It's all replaceable, which is nice because I wrecked it and replaced the rails. I got the tie rails and I bent them. Thinking about the stainless rails. Pretty cool saddle. This is my favorite 9-speed 7700 Dura Ace group. So it's got the Dura Ace 9-speed rear derailleur with the mega range pulleys. So you can fit a nice fat cassette. It really wraps a lot of chains so you don't get any chain slap. I also got the little Champion chain slap guard that Grambois was selling and maybe Compass was selling, and made my own little mounts for it out of some rack tubing. And then I also got the Wolf Tooth Road Link to move the derailleur down so we use a much bigger cassette. And I high polished it too, because they're black and all machined, and put a 10-speed, like 1136 cassette on, but it's much too big. I think I did 1132 before, and it was really fine. But you know, I wanted to try it out. And then I got 10-speed down tube shifters. I think they make them still for like time trial-y bikes. You just have to get the curvy down tube, like little adapters. But those are still readily available. And I got a new old stock Saavedra headset from Argentina from the 80s, needle bearing. Very cool. And I stripped the ano and high polished those. Got a cool Japanese bell. I was stoked for this wheel set. This is really the reason why I built this. Is because I got the new old stock Dura-Ace rear hub, and I got the Sun hub and the wide body deluxe. So it was like more heavy duty because I'm a heavy dude. And Velocity started making these Atlas rims and started coming in high polish and making this really cool, sort of classy, shiny old Art Deco sticker. I was like, man, it's time for a new bike. Here's our original Northern Cycle sticker, and this is my serial number. We're doing this for a while. Just hand hammering them onto little brass badges and silver brazing them right on. So I think this says like Northern Cycle 17 for 2017, the year I built it. It's got a little tent stamped in there. Let's see if I can get a shot. Little tent, it is so cool. The cranks, I couldn't really afford the Rene Hurst cranks, and I really want to try the Sun XCD stuff. So I did get the Rene Hurst SKF bottom bracket. I got the Sun XCD cranks, and I used TA rings because I could still get this new old stock. And then I used a Velo Orange hardware, I believe, to get them all mounted up correctly. And you do need to use the original TA spacers, or a few millimeters thinner than the VO. And I was having real problems with the chain not shifting well with the VO spacers, so I switched to the TA ones, which is funny because they're like from the 60s and they're narrower than modern ones. And it solved most of my shifting issues. I still have a hard time getting this thing to shift down sometimes, and I really need to lower the derailleur and adjust it, and I just never did. And I got the MKS Always pedals because these were the hot thing for a second, and they were silver even though they're not high polish. But they're really nice and big and grippy and not too heinous for a modern, comfortable, super smooth spinning pedal. And I got one of the Nitto water bottle cages from Rene Hurst, just because why not pay $50 for a water bottle cage, which everyone else in the world is trying to throw away. And I got the Giles Berthoud bag, which I got used for my old friend Rando Theo and put on. And I got the Velo Orange Rando bars when they came out, and they switched to a 50. So I got those because the old 48 seemed a little narrow. Here's the Northern Cycles head badge. Here's my custom rack I made for it. All beautiful 5/16 tube. I put as many swoopy, loopy bends in as I possibly could, just to be a psycho. And I also have a set of custom lowriders. The lowriders mount to this, and come down and mount to this top eyelet, and swing back up and mount to this guy. Like very French style. They're in my closet, hanging up with my nice clothes. A little sun light, the Edelux 2. For the head badge, this is the stem I made for this bike. I only made a few custom stems because chrome's expensive and ridiculous. But this one I tried to tear my vise in half. So I made the stem out of way too heavy a steel because I'm a real heavy guy and paranoid. I really wanted that LD shape. So I about broke my bench when I bend this piece of 7/8 tube. And then I made a little fox or faux custom lug, and brass braze that onto this like Paragon Machine Works really beautiful center section, which is for 26.0 only. The double steel bolts, because the single bolt on a steel stem is totally ridiculous. I've had every one of them ever slip. I don't know why frame builders still do that. I did too, and I've never had a problem. Made this cute little decalier. So it mounts to the back of the stem bolt. So I run the too long of a through bolt and then some stainless nuts. And on the bag, here's this decalier size. This is before I worked with Frame Builder Supply to make custom decaliers. So I had him laser cut me a bunch of custom plates with pre-made drillium in them, which he never sold because one random comment on Instagram was like, oh, it looks a lot like mine, because he made some crappy one that looked like the VO one and thought that he invented drilling holes in parts and invented the decalier, even though they've been being made since like the 30s. Which is a real shame. So this one's chromed. I made a few with my nicer plate for other people, and I always meant to make one for this bike and throw it in with the next batch of chrome, but never did. And then I made a little internal aluminum brackets, which I custom bent out of like window garnish from the hardware store and drilled out because I saw it like on some old Rene Hearses, and then some years later Rene Hearse Compass started actually offering them, so that was cool. But make my own was cool. This is a really vintage old 70s like eyelet thing. It's like for your panniers. This would bolt to like your lower fork dropout, so you could come around and hook your pannier on it. I found it to be pretty handy for overloading my bag and still being able to get junk in there. And I've got the little cell phone pocket that Berthaud started making, which is just the most wonderful thing in the world, and I wish I would have got it for the other side as well. What do I got in here? I got a saddle cover, got some chick's phone number from a bar that I never called. This is my favorite. I was having these made for a while at Kenton, and I really wish I could find someone to make some more. So it's like some nice warm felt. This is a little bit of the sleeve off my old rain jacket. I had them sewed up, and so these Velcro around your helmet straps and cover your ears. They're ear warmers that are waterproof and fuzzy and warm and soft, but still real easy just to yank off if you overheated a light. Just yank them off, throw them in your pocket of your bag. I think they're the best. They never sold that well. People don't know. Here's my little Columbia River Historic Highway pin that I got on a ride out through the gorge from like a little gift shop out there, and I thought that was the coolest. It's nice to take a real long, real hard ride that kicked my ass, even though guys do it all the time, I think it's easy. And to get a little souvenir. I don't know where I got this one from, but also cute and cool. I like my little bag, my little decalier system. And I don't use anything fancy. There's no Velcro. It's not a bunch of nonsense. It comes right on and off. I had a leather worker friend make this custom guitar strap for it. And then he moved, otherwise I would have begged him to make me more to sell at the shop. People always wanted them. But it's a real simple system. It's just got this loop here for the tombstone, and then these two downward pegs for the decalier. Nothing locking, nothing fancy, nothing that takes a million years or can't be done one-handed outside of a grocery store with it totally loaded and full. And that's it, it's in. I can just hook this dude over my stem, or hook it over my old 70s Randonner thing, if that's really overloaded, which it often was. It's got a cool Velcro map pocket that I still have some things in there from when the shop was still open. Something from 2019, good times. A little bell I hit upside down that fills full of water and drips. Oh, this is a cool little feature. There's an extra piece of brass brazing rod that I saw in the 70s. TA made some things that sort of held your cables out of the way. So I just made this. I did little things like this on a lot of bikes, just so the cables were not rubbing or futzing or fighting, and always kind of held out of the way. Usually it's if I go on the two separate sides, but I really like them both on one side. It's a real clear path from my right hand. This is a nice little set of Mayfac levers that I had polished and found some new old stock hoods for on the eBay. And then I did the Rivendell thing and wrapped this in yellow new bombs, I believe. And then did like 7-8 coats of shellac. Did some twine down here and shellacked that as well. Get a real cool look. This is where I used to have to lean it against the cement wall every day to get into my old apartment. Really nice and fading. Did the wine corks from a cool winery my mom goes to, and she'd save me some of her corks. One of my favorite little mods is the pump peg on the rear stay. And then we take these pumps. These were a spring-loaded pump that you could get everywhere for a second, and then they were gone for a few years, I didn't even know. I bought up every new old stock one everyone can find on eBay because they're spring loaded and cool. You can pull them all apart. So this barrel's originally to silver. It's pulled apart and have them powder coated to match, which was super fun. And then it just jams down into the dropout and spring loads back into that little peg you can't even see. Pretty cool, man. And of course I got the Compass Baby Shoe Pass 650B 42. I think I run the standard ones. Sometimes I run the extra lights, but I didn't feel like I needed them. I don't really like my bike being too squishy. What do I got in here? It looks like I got some koozies, because you always got to have koozies, patch kits, tire levers. I think I have a little multi-tool. I think I have a spare tube or two in the other pocket. I usually have like an emergency blanket in here, just in case I get stuck in the middle of nowhere, but trying out owning a shop, I never got stuck in the middle of nowhere. I always got stuck in my shop. I barely ever rode bikes ever again. Oh yeah, this is like some horse tackle stainless D-rings that I'd mount through the aluminum plates for the bag mounts. I always did that custom. You can see on this side for the little bag stiffeners. I like the bag stiffener. They don't weigh anything. They're really nice, and it keeps your bag from always being floppy and saggy, which I really disliked. That's my Norther. I don't know if you noticed, but it's the dustiest bike in the world because I've ridden it like 3 times in the last 5 years. I got really into power walking, and then I got the job at the post office and I was driving every day. I was way too tired to ride bikes. Working 12 and 16 and 18-hour days, 7 days a week, even on Sundays. Got to deliver Amazon packages on Sundays. Well, anyways, that part of my life's over, thank God. I got my little Gladys Bikes water bottle. My friend Leah started this little women-focused bike shop that's just amazing, and she sold it, and it's still around, and people are running it and doing great. Gladys Bikes on Instagram. They're totally worth checking out. They have a saddle library. If you want to try out expensive, fancy saddles before you spend a whole bunch of money on them. It's very cool. I used to do a lot of fit studio stuff. Yeah, so that's this bike, and then I'm building that little Schwinn basket bike, which might be for me. The Nothing Special Schwinn. Or maybe I'll ride it and decide to sell it. I'll probably never sell this Norther. It's worth too much to me, and I don't think I could get what I want for it. I'd want like $6,000 for it. I know it's a dirty, dusty old bike, and I don't think I can get it. I think I'd regret it, but it'd probably make me start frame building again and build myself a new bike. So we'll see. But yeah, thanks for checking out my little personal bike collection. Thanks for watching.